I wasn't aware of that. Roundabouts take a lot of real estate.
And what happens if you get 2 trucks caught in it?
It's go around and around. I mean, the design that they've already put on paper is
I've been in roundabouts, I don't like them.
I
You
am,
got people coming in
Traffic signals are
different, 3 and 4 different directions.
That's the problem.
So are you saying you don't want that paragraph in there?
I'm not,
Right now, the paragraph is just there for consideration.
well, a consideration, but I'm not a fan of roundabouts, so
Okay.
that's my
Are we
opinion.
okay with the paragraph?
Yeah,
Will ODOT be a pass-through? Will it go from the federal government to ODOT to the port?
I am not sure how that build funds are working. I would think so, that ODOT, I don't think the port would ever see the money. I think it all goes to ODOT.
ODOT, yeah.
ODOT.
Yeah.
All right. I'll abstain then from.
Yeah.
Bruce, did you want to say anything about this?
I mean, the traffic engineers are gonna look at it. I think roundabouts, traffic moves better personally, but I don't like them. I always think I'm gonna crash in them. Yeah, so whatever the engineers come up with, but, I'm more interested in, putting that money in that frontage road. Remember back when, we thought Nestle's might be coming and, most of the town worried about the truck traffic. You know, the people that did have objections still coming. And if we could get that fixed, that would really help things out, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Even with the activity that we're gonna get out there in the industrial area. So I think, I'm in support of it.
Perfect, thank you.
So we're okay with,
Yeah.
so anyway, so then can we get a motion in here?
I move to approve the letter of support for the build grant application.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the letter of support for the build grant application. Discussion? Kind of been there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
And I abstain.
Oh, that's right, Bob abstained. Thank you. Okay, approve resolution number 1419, adopting 2018-19 budget adjustments.
As always in June, we take a look at where we are with our budget. We try to comply with budget law by adjusting some things where we're over. In this case, we had utilities, museum utilities, they're gonna burn more electricity than we had anticipated, even though we had increased it last year, so that's $150 increase. The tourism support fund, we need to take some, increase this, if you remember, for a period there, we had 30 hours a week during the winter to help them with the marketing for the, trying to get the shoulder season is done. So we need to cover that. That's $10,000 out of their contingency fund to their support fund. The sewer is an interesting mix. We spend a little more money in the materials and services and the contract services for projects. But we also, our beginning fund balance was $40,000, was actually like $60,000 or $80,000 higher. So what we're doing with this line item is recognizing that extra revenue that we got during the year and applying it to we spent it. And the same thing with the electric fund. Our reimbursable projects, we did a lot more from them, and we needed to increase that revenue so it pays for the materials and supplies that we used for those reimbursable projects. So net effect, this should make us be in compliance with our local budget law for the ending of this year. Any questions I can answer on those funds?
Do you have any questions there, Bruce?
No, I do not, thank you.
Well, these just reflect shortages in the budget.
I'm sorry?
These just reflect the shortages in the budget that
Yes, well,
particular
yeah, where
Because events happen that cost us more than.
we spent a little more than we had anticipated, but we also received a whole lot more revenue than we anticipated, so it balances out. This is just, rather than going through and taking it from this line and putting it on this line is an expense, balancing the expenses, since we have the revenue, just increase the revenue, and that allowed us to spend that much more. It does not impact our beginning fund balances in the new budget.
Richard,
Yeah, I just want to, typically through the budget years, almost every year, we have to make some type of adjustment.
That's correct. Yeah. Like for museum.
but these are kind of large though, in comparison to what we normally have.
But, again, it's because we, like on the reimbursable project, we have reimbursable
Yeah.
projects to do
And
so.
they're expensive projects.
And they got paid for it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. So is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 1419, authorizing the transfer of funds between the categories of various funds, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures from the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve resolution 1419. Discussion. Did you want to say any more on this, Bruce?
Just I think to stay within, our legal requirements, we need to do this.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Business license discussion.
In the past, we've had several business owners in that talk about the possibility of putting in a business license for to control street vendors was the original topic. And so the city attorney has drafted this model from a model ordinance for business licenses for you to talk about. There are some cautions that he puts in here when we talk about federal law, that we have one legal and two illegal businesses that we sell power to that would not comply with federal law at this point in time. Doesn't mean it won't change in the future. There are some questions about, do you want to include street vendors? Do you want to include postal home shares? Do you want to include vacation rentals? I mean, you can read the notes that we sent out with the paperwork. There's one question he had in here was on the section 3, license required G. Person who operates multiple vacation home rentals is not required to make a separate application and pay a separate license fee for each vacation location. Our vendor ordinance allows up to 3. So that one license could handle 3 of the same owner vacation rentals if they want to do that. Do you want to go through this section by section, or do you want to, have you had a chance to review it? How would you like to proceed?
Most of the questions I have is what we're proposing to cover the highlighted section.
That real question would be, you take the federal out. Because you're not gonna, we already have a business in town that is operating. If we left federal in there, are you gonna deny them a federal license or a city license because they're in violation of law?
And our issue with the licenses isn't usually something that has to do with federal law. It has something to do with what the city's
right.
frustrated about, or maybe the state maybe. Is that where?
So that's one point.
Isn't that point just going to be about marijuana recreational drug?
Exactly. that's a
I don't,
violation of federal law.
well, there is, okay.
I don't think so, but again, we have the one legal that if I couldn't issue them a business license, then I have to go through an enforcement action and shut them down. Doesn't make sense to me.
Is there any reason why in the future we should have federal on the list in case, for whatever reason, I don't know if there was be any benefit to you?
I think that's the attorney's question.
Well, and we can change it down the road though, too. I mean,
But we receive grants
Yeah.
from the federal government.
Yeah.
And so we're basically telling the federal government, I believe, that we're abiding by all the rules and regulations. Well, now we're not. So how does that affect our ability to get grants? If it does at all,
if we move the feds out of it, then they're not part of our business license.
well, that's
So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying it's best to just leave them out, then we aren't stuck in that.
No, I'm not saying.
Oh, okay, but
I have a concern that if we leave a group out because of the federal requirements are different than our state and local laws, will that affect our ability to get federal grants?
It hasn't at this point, but we also make sure that we don't, for example, if a big marijuana grow wanted to come in here, we needed to get federal dollars to put the road in and put the infrastructure to. They would never give us that. So we don't mention those. I mean, it's down at the end of Herman Creek Lane. We have not asked the feds for any money to approve that access. So,
Isn't that just in city limits though? That's not in city limits.
Yes.
Yes.
It's clear.
yeah,
the Foxes, the illegal grow is not in city limits.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Gorgeous Green that is at the end of Herman Creek Lane. So that's one issue. That's a good issue to think about. The other issues that the attorney is concerned with is how much are you going to charge? He's suggesting that we put a maximum up there, but then set the business license at a lower amount through resolution. You can do that. My question is enforcement. If somebody decides, I'm not going to give you $25 for a business license, and I have to take them to the court for a penalty of up to $600 a day, every day that exists, each day being a separate violation, that is after the municipal court meets and rules on that thing, which means I gotta have a municipal court. We have a municipal court judge. We're looking at 3 issues right now to take the municipal court judge, but it takes me a month to get it scheduled. So, and then you get it scheduled, and then they're gonna want a hearing, and the preliminary hearing is to how do you plead, and then after you plead, I've got to wait another month until we have another municipal court judge. So you were 2 months down, and then they'll give them 30 days to repair whatever the violation is, and then the fines start, and then we try and collect. So it's not a simple process. I kind of wish we had the district court as part of the municipal court, where I could just get a uniform citation, write down on what the city statute is, and send it to the court and let them deal with it. The county's not interested in doing that. But also the business license, if I get a street vendor who doesn't get a business license, and I try and cite him, I don't have any contact information, I don't know where they live, how can I send them a citation? And they're gone before they even gets there in the mail. So, these are all things you want. What is the purpose of getting a business license? Is to track the number of businesses in town? Is it to, I don't understand. It's not revenue. We got 20 businesses at $25 a piece, there's $500. It's not a revenue stream. So if you want to think about this, and we can come back and talk about it at another meeting.
Yeah. Right.
Richard,
sorry, I would just like to think that, I think we need to be careful alienating the federal government in anything we do, because we are tied at the hip with a lot of things already with the federal government, and I just think we need to just be careful.
Butch, did you have a comment on this? I don't know.
No, yeah,
Okay.
something.
Okay. So that, again, well,
So are you suggesting either whether we should have a business license?
you've lived without one already.
Well, then how do you control the street vendors? I mean, you can't just not have something, because the more you progress and,
So tell me what your definition of a street vendor is.
well, somebody who comes in who does not have a business that is just there for a certain amount of time and moves on, is not responsible for land taxes, the insurance, anything like that.
Okay, so they come in and they're here for a weekend and then they're gone. Are they gonna pay $50 for a business license? If they don't, by the time somebody tells me about it, I'm down there, they're gone. If it's on private property, we have our street vendor ordinance that says if you're selling off a private property, you have to have you have 180 days, and you can get permission from the private property owner, and you have to give us your food handler's license and all. We have those requirements for those kinds of vendors. But for vendors that just come in and set up in the street right of way, it's a state highway. I have no jurisdiction on the state highway. And the state police aren't gonna come down and do vendor code violations. They just aren't. They're too busy writing tickets or doing everything else. And so I don't know how to regulate those street vendors, and a business license doesn't do it. You don't have a business license, you gotta leave. Well, make me. What do I do then?
What are they doing under the river? Do they have a business license? Do they have a code enforcement person?
They have police.
Yeah. They got enforcement.
I pay Hood River County money for a business license, and I guarantee you it's not $20. It goes according to how many chairs I have in my shop.
Or employees, and there's all ways to kind of structure that thing. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But again, some guy selling fish out of a bag or a taco truck. Now, we did in our street vendor license, if they're actually selling a food product, they better be licensed by Hood River County or have a certification by the Hood River County Health Authority. We do have that capability, and that's in our street vendor ordinance. But a business license isn't gonna.
Well, maybe not a business license, but I just think it needs to be regulated somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow, or you're just free game. I mean, we're just like,
Okay, so she suggested a permit. On what basis do we issue a permit? Is it event sponsored? Well, if they're in the park, the port takes care of that.
right.
If it's a citywide event and people are just going to parking lot in summer, that's my frustration with this. I don't know how to do a permit.
Yeah, and my frustration is that I'm looking at investing $500,000 in our community and paying taxes on that. Property taxes and personal taxes on that. And what makes me feel like the city's got my back as far as making that kind of investment whenever Joe Blow can pull up a truck and sell whatever he does out of a truck. I mean, and it kills me because I'm trying to be here for the locals and the tourists.
Yeah, I understand completely the frustration. I really do.
But do you understand that we can do, you're hearing here, that we can do that all we want. We can put all this stuff on it, but then enforcing it is tough for us to do.
And I understand that. My concern is that, we send out a message all the time that we have We don't have any code enforcement, we don't enforce this. I paid to have a signature from the city when I opened my business. I permitted the sign that I put on my building. So for those of us who do follow the rules and try to do the guidelines, it's almost like a slap in the face. I buy a burn permit every year from the city. Do you know that I just found out what happens if I don't have a burn permit? If I don't have a burn permit, then someone calls, the police come or the fire department comes, tells me to put it out, and they leave. There's nothing. So the guy that's actually spending money trying to do the right thing, I mean, I don't know that I'd buy a burn permit anymore.
What do you mean, burn permit?
I burn stuff at my house during. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, I'm talking, yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I thought
talking
you meant your
anything.
business.
I mean, I think it's not having code enforcement or not having police, we're gonna have a mess on our hands real soon.
Well,
Yes.
isn't it possible to have a separate for the marijuana grow, where you don't mention the federal? In other words, it's part of it, but it's part of it, but it's in another appendix or something, you understand?
You gotta be real careful,
I know,
because
but there's,
I don't know how you do that.
I don't either, I'm just,
It's because you can't discriminate against one type of business, either for or against.
so it's either leave all the federal names in here or take them out.
Or don't do business.
Or don't do a
Or don't do a
business.
business license.
When, you know, we talk about an enforcement officer, and I'm all for an enforcement officer, but when push came to shove, we dropped that to
For the fire department.
to get a new fire person. You know, now, yeah, and every year we say we're going after that enforcement person. And every year, something happens that we pull away from that. And I didn't like pulling away from that because I think this town needs an enforcement officer, even if it's just, 10 hours a week or whatever. But we find ourselves in this, do we let that enforcement officer go to protect the whole, and our fire department is the whole community? We have to.
So what we do have this year that we didn't have last year was the food vendor certification that's in our street vendor ordinance. So if you see somebody that comes in, like, go ask them for their Hood River County permit. If they don't have one, then call me and I'll go down and talk to them.
They should have it displayed, that's a requirement.
Exactly, that's in our ordinance.
So you said everything has potential to go to heck here. What does that look like? Tell me what going to heck looks like here.
What go to heck looks like
Yeah.
on a daily basis, I look at my business window and at the crack of dawn, you start seeing things happening in town that haven't been happening. We're having cars broken into, we've got, needles being found down by, gravel pit lane, and people know that businesses included, that they don't have to follow the rules because nothing's gonna be done anyway. And even right down to just simple $10 burn permits. Why get it? Nothing's gonna happen anyway. I mean, I'm a rule follower, so I try to follow the rules. But it's almost like a slap in the face of someone that actually tries to follow the rules, because I could save a lot of money. Because I know you guys aren't gonna do anything anyway.
Oh,
And that's the wrong message, I think.
and that's what we get stuck into. We get stuck into having all these things happen, and whether we can enforce these. I mean, we can put all these rules and laws, everything we want, but if we can't enforce them, and if it becomes too expensive for us to enforce them, we're not going to enforce them if it's going to break the town trying to enforce them. So you're right; those things have the potential to go out there, but let's do the burn permit. You said you had a burn, somebody calls, they come down. Well, it seems to me if the fire department shows up, and you don't have a burn permit, they're putting your fire out. That's what I'm assuming. So what's wrong with that? I don't see I've had that, neighbors done that
right?
to us. The fire department showed, somebody called, said there's a fire, I mean, they're really putting the smoke in. But they came and that fire went out, and
Right.
so,
And what's wrong with it is the guy like me, I
So it
pay
works.
$10 to have a permit, there's instructions on it telling me to call the fire department, leave a message, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, I have to have a shovel next to my barrel, I have to have a live water hose there. So there's things that I have to do so they know when the smoke goes up, oh, it's coming from over there, she
Sure.
called. It's responsibility, you know, and can we enforce it as a community?
We do.
Like, as community members, I mean, if we set an example, like, not necessarily burning, but like business, like, if they don't have their thing, I mean, I don't know, isn't there a volunteer way to do it or something? I don't know, but I know that we, as a community, we should figure out, so.
I agree. It's just a matter
I
of
think we
trying to
should
figure it out.
and I don't disagree, but what you get stuck with is to come to city council, or come to us and be able to say, okay, correct this by enacting these laws or doing this stuff. We can do all of this stuff. There's a thing we can do here, but you heard from Gordon what happened. It happens more than just in this permitting. There's a whole process that we're gonna have to go through. And that whole process is gonna cost us a bunch of money trying to manage these things. So if we're gonna manage these things, and we're gonna manage the whole variety of these things, plan on a lot of costs going up. You know, right here, where Linda's talking about code enforcement, we wanna have one. We can't afford one. But if we wanted to get more money from the citizens, if we went after everybody and said, give us more money, we could get a code enforcement. But we've tried, we're doing the best we can here with the budgets we've got and managing those. But you are correct that it is our responsibility that when something does happen, we need to stop in and take a look. We shouldn't just, if you call up and say, hey, this is going on down here, we should just walk on, we should ignore it, we should come down and check, and check it out.
And I have done that.
And it's,
Previous
I think we
council
do
people
some-
called me. If it's on Sunday, you're gonna have a hard time catching me, but most other times, if I'm around, I'll come down and take a
Well, the
look.
fire department showed up at my neighbors they were putting out a ton of smoke and somebody called, fire department, sirens blaring, and the fire went out. So it went from a pretty good fire to nothing because somebody called, fire department responded to it, and it was out. And you are correct. No matter, you do your burn permit, if I burn, I'm gonna give you a burn permit.
Right.
But there are people who aren't gonna get burn. So all I would say is those people, if they do that, they open if somebody calls on them and the fire department looks and goes, hey, yeah, I don't see any, there could be a fire over there, I better go. They're gonna show up and they may hose it down. So,
I think it's a good discussion. I think for me, I need to do the footwork because I'm not totally convinced because I haven't done my research or my homework on it to see, food vendors, why aren't they? Why can't we ban them? What says that we can't ban food vendors? I don't know. I have to.
State law says we can't ban food vendors if they have certifications from them. That's totally outside our purview too. If it's regulated by the state,
So does the state require them to have business license too to travel around?
they do not. All these certifications for, in the county that they're at. We already researched that one.
See, I haven't,
That's when we got the certification for the food vendors, that's in compliance with state law, and it's really, we don't do the enforcement of that one, the county does the enforcement of that, but they don't come down on the weekends when the food vendors are. So what we now have is a process where I go down, I take a picture of their license that shows that it's not for this county or whatever. I get all their contact information and I report them to the county, and the county then takes the influence. So that's in our ordinance now.
it sucks for us as a community.
yeah.
It really does, because we're a little town, we're unique in nature.
Well,
I understand where you're coming from and I agree there too, but I also, a few years ago, was part of a group we called ourselves the Boosters.
Mhm.
And we built a pirate ship. And we sold hot dogs
Mhm.
and stuff out of that pirate ship.
Mhm.
We didn't get a license. We did get a food handlers because we had to do that. But we set up on the school, we set up in the park, we set up on the main street, and we sold for the good of the school. It wasn't really the school, it was just a few of parents that did this, maybe 5. But you kind of tie those people's hands on one hand if we because they would have to be part of this.
Right.
So see, I can see it both ways. I'm a rule follower too. I think that, all my life I followed the rules. I didn't have to, and these people over here are not doing it, and they're just as good off as me. I mean, they still have the same benefits, but I understand, and I just feel that if we don't do something, I don't know what, you just open our town up for just come in and leave, and maybe that's okay with somebody, but I don't think it's fair to the businesses that put in all the effort and the money to sustain their business year round. But I'm also stuck. I don't know what we do.
And the boosters and stuff, that money stays local.
Yeah.
The money of these other people, that is not staying local at all. That is going wherever they go.
Yeah, I know, but my point was, we would have had to
Yeah.
get a license or get a permit, and we never did that. We got a food handlers because, we followed the rules.
Right.
Well, you followed one rule.
One.
You didn't follow the others, because all we've done in our vendor ordinance is modeled what the River County requires.
We didn't have it.
Yes, I get it. I'm gonna shut down
So-
my
So from your comment, that's why we're doing this, is from the comments that you've made, we're trying to figure out what can we do to make it work for you, but it sounded like it may be a tough road to go. I mean, we can do this, but even doing it, trying to make it work for us could be really difficult.
And the first hurdle is you're gonna have to put it on the ballot, because it's a new fee.
Yeah.
Will
Oh, are you?
no, you can no fee, tax, or charge without a vote of the
Right.
people. So that's the first. I'm sorry?
I was just curious if these vendors are setting up on the state right of way on the street. There is a potential for a dangerous traffic situation that maybe we could get them called out on if it was a danger. I mean, if it did exist.
Absolutely. You just call the state police. We got one here in town. He can come down and take a look.
Well, hopefully that would work.
I think that's something we have to keep looking at. I'm not sure if I'm ready to make a decision on this.
Well, let's keep thinking about it.
Okay, keep thinking about it there? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Appearance of interested citizens. You're up, Butch?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, I just, pretty much at the last meetings, vote on the Child Drug and Alcohol Prevention Coalition. Gordon read that one note from the detectives about the crime. I want to read you another one that is in there. This is from Jeanette Tucker, Mid-Columbia Center for Living Child and Therapy Team. She's a qualified mental therapist. She sees Cascade Locks families in her practice and says, my Cascade Locks caseload has far higher rates of addiction in the family than I have seen anywhere else. Working to treat addiction there will pay off for generations and give young people the chance at life they deserve. As being part of this coalition, this is what we were striving for, is to get these kids, to help them to make sure they stay off drugs, but don't get on drugs and stay off of them. I understand your concerns that the money goes up in the Hood River, too much of it. But that's the way the federal government works. We would have a coalition here of 12 members. During this 5 years, we'd be receiving about $25,000 a year coming down here. So the total amount would be $125,000 over that 5-year period. And that money would also be helping to train people here to work on these programs, which means after 5 years, we could drop out, use one of the people that we have here trained, and get our own program started with our own grant, and have our own program director right here. But we can't do it if our foot isn't in the door. And by voting it down, you said no to that. So our foot isn't in the door. And we have some very good people that are part of that coalition. Our principal, Amy, I mean, what a workhorse. And she does so much for this community. She's part of that coalition. Gordon was with us for a few meetings. We had Olga, Brittany from down at the port. We were building this coalition, and this is something the city needs. We need to work to stop the crime, to stop the addiction first. And it's in kind. It's not costing the city a dime. It's through our own work. So I just wish you would have voted the other way. And if it comes back again, that you do vote in favor for it. Because the project just means too much to this city's future and to its children and the families. So that's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comment? We good? Okay. Reports and presentations. City Administrator Zimmerman's report.
Thank you. We got 2 pages today. Number 1, all 97 fire hydrants are functioning, operating, have water, can be used for the fires. Number 2, thank you, Chris. Number 2, the BPA power outage. Be aware, July 20th at 10 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock the morning of July 21st. There will be a complete blackout, Cascade Locks. So just have your batteries, phone charge, whatever. If you set an alarm, set it on your phone. That's just, we're putting that all out in everywhere we can. We've contacted all the businesses. We call them. Number 3, John Logan has accepted the position of station captain. His first day on the job will be at the fireworks. So if you want to meet him, you can go down and with 5,000 of your closest friends at Marine Park and talk to him. Representative Walden will be at the pavilion on July 3rd at 3 o'clock. You're all invited to attend that town hall. Downtown cleanup. Again, the city of the port are cooperating and checking and maintaining the garbage cans in town now, and that seems to be working pretty well with that to keep the downtown clean. Save the date. Number 6, save the date August 3rd, 2019 at 10 o'clock at the Wyeth Trailhead. That's when we're going to do a celebration of opening the new section, the 3.5-mile trip to Lindsay Creek. And they've been paving it. So it's pretty spectacular. It's fun to watch. Here's a question for you, number 7. Corrosion control change notice. We included $23,000 on that project to fence the corrosion control area for another $6,884.25. We can extend that 115 feet and have all of our wells behind security wire. And that would also include galvanized gates to make them last longer. That comes out of our contingency. Are you okay with that, the change notice?
Are we talking 8-foot cyclone with the barbed wire?
No, it's just 6-foot cyclone, I think.
For how many feet? 115 feet.
Yeah.
Does that seem steep to anybody else?
It's,
I buy a lot of fencing at work.
I don't have, I do have the
That included, that's an installation.
installation.
Yeah, installation, 8-foot, 3-strand barbed wire, galvanized.
Well, they gotta clear the fence line, that's $803, remove the debris, $448. The quote for 10-yard dump truck, $108. Foreman's truck, $72. The Cabelco, the materials is from Verm's Custom Ranch is $5,365. For the hot dipping gates, $1,800. That's just to hot dip the gates. And then the fencing is $3,565, 115 feet.
Our guys can't clear a path for the fence.
Contract, they're gonna be there anyway. So that's the,
What
do you think?
Get another?
no, our guys have to clear the material that's gonna be behind the fence out of the way. We've stored some stuff behind that old storage shed that just, we're gonna have to finally clean it out.
Well, if you don't wanna do that, we could wait and
you
figure
know,
out how to get the fence later on.
All I'm saying is $7,000 for 115 feet is 6-foot. Galvanized is expensive.
We could beat that, you're saying. So maybe just wait over time and do it ourselves some of the time.
Well, this is one of those things to me that, and I won't speak for Sheldon, but it's not rocket science. What's to stop our guys from putting the fence? Why can't we do this ourselves?
We can fence in what we've already approved and then come back and do this ourselves. It's just the contractor's gonna be there. I'm sure we can do it, but it's, if Sheldon does it, then we gotta pay for the expenses out of his budget. This is in the.
And you know more about this than I do, so I'm following the lead. If you think we should wait off on this financially, I'm good with that.
We just did a project where it was 100 by, like 150 by 100 by maybe 150. And we spent $30,000. That's an 8-foot with the barbed wire and all the thick piping and installation. And I don't know. I'm just.
Your Honor.
Richard?
We're talking about this water supply to the city, and I'm thinking that maybe that's something that sometimes there's things in life that you just need to get her done and not try to figure out a way to do it cheaper, because sometimes that takes time, sometimes a time. And I think getting that baby fenced is kind of a priority myself. I mean, it's crazy as things are going, but somebody could go in there and.
I think what part of this is
Well,
they
well,
only bid $23,000 to do the rest of the fencing and they're trying to make up.
How much is the rest?
All the rest of the property is gonna be all around the fence. So
Okay.
this is So it's 30,000 to do that whole section of property between, where the Flex 4 is and to the other side of the current well.
Anything you want to say, Bruce?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, seems like 6-foot fence, we should have 3 strands of barbed wire on it. I mean, I'm all in favor of having the whole thing fenced in. I think we should. And I also think for 115 feet, that cost is a little high.
Well, it's 150 plus the gallon.
I don't know what the scheduling is and how we could match it. And once the contract's done to do so much, then you got to break into what's done and tie the rest in. But yeah, I mean, we put a lot of fence around them substations. It's not that complicated a job, especially if we got an auger for our skid steer. But yeah, I mean, the 6-foot fence, even an old guy like me could get over one of those. You need that barbed wire.
If you're determined to get in, whether there's barbed wire or not, you're going to get in. You know, you're going to go over the gate.
Well, at least we take some bolt cutters.
Yeah.
In that case, then there's not much point in spending money on the fence if we can't keep people out.
Well, you know, we already approved $23,000 for the fence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot, but we need to get it done, and I guess the people I work for, they're big on the barbed wire. But yeah, okay. That's all I got.
Well, in the interest of getting it done, let's just get it done.
Okay, you okay with getting it done, Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay. Linda, you're okay?
Yeah.
Richard, you're... Okay.
I'll just approve the change notice. Thank you. So, on a lighter note, well, we all understand Mr. Cook is not retiring. He is leaving to go on to his next adventure. He's been involved in this community 1.5 years with the city as the interim and 6.5 years as the general manager of the port. You are invited to his retirement party on Thursday, June 27th from 4 to 7. You don't have to stay the whole time. You can come and say goodbye at Sam Hill's den that's in the basement of the bridge site. You're invited. The cougar caution. I was sitting at my desk Saturday morning, not here, at my home desk, and I happened to have the news on, and the leadoff was Hood River County Sheriff shoots cougar at Cascade Locks last night. And so just be careful. I mean, this was the other side of Ruckle Street, John Quincy, the trailer park over there, and this poor lady couldn't get her kid out of the car because the cougar was standing there, so they called the county sheriff. The sheriff came, couldn't scare the thing away, so I had to shoot it. Just be careful. Don't aggravate them. Don't approach them. Cougar sightings have been increasing. There were 2 in Sandy last week. So, I mean, walking through neighborhoods caught on security cameras. All of you received a copy of Kirsten Walter's email about her involvement with the Joint Work Group for Economic Development and Community Development Subcommittee. How this, she has withdrawn her participation in that subcommittee. So at our next meeting on July 25th, we'll talk about how to move that subcommittee forward. She is still going to try and do some community development work, but do it outside the confining requirements of the city. Of 11, for those of you who don't know, Tourism Committee support, Bernadette is leaving, and they have interviewed, they had 4 applications. They interviewed 3 qualified candidates, and have selected Annie Van Domlin to take over her responsibilities as the Tourism Committee support. May I have your permission to get a contract through the City Attorney to hire her as the tourism support person?
Good with it? You good with that, Bruce?
Yeah.
I do, Richard?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We will go forward with that.
Can I ask a question first, though?
Sure.
Were you involved in the applications?
I reviewed the applications, yes.
Were you in on the interviewing?
I was not in the areas. I was not available.
I'm gonna pass this on because I got an email from a person who applied for this and felt that it wasn't handled professionally.
I have a copy of that email. It was less than professional, but it didn't change the results. I have the score sheets, so.
No, I don't think she wasn't,
It was a process that could have been run better. That's absolutely correct.
yeah, and that's why she passed it on.
Right. And
I felt that it was
I responded to her.
maybe a little out of,
Well, part of the problem, people were coming and going. Debbie Fine had a family emergency that she couldn't get out of, so it was late. So they did not count her ratings on the other two, but the rest of the committee was there for all of it. But
that's
again,
why I just wanted to know if you were involved in this.
no, I was not able to be there that night, so
But normally you would have been?
normally,
Okay.
but yeah, but even if I'm there, doesn't mean it's going to work any better, but I appreciate that. No, it's like I said back to Debbie and to Bernadette, there's things here we can learn from it, and next time we'll do it better.
Well, I'm just saying you would have known maybe a better way to handle procedure.
I would hope so.
Well, that's what I thought.
But again, I wasn't.
So I'm just passing that on.
Okay, thank you. LLC conference is September 26th to 28th in Bend this year. If you would like to go, registration opens July 1st. And if you want to just come in and talk to Mary Ann, and we can get you registered to do that. I will register to go. And you're welcome to go or not go, but if you're interested, we can do that. Social media reminder, any city council member that has a Facebook page which identifies them as a member of the Cascade Locks City Council should know if a citizen communicates on Facebook with them regarding a city issue, both Facebook accounts, yours and theirs, are subject to possible records requests. This goes for private messaging as well. Those that do have Facebook accounts should direct, anyone who contacts them with a city-related issue on Facebook to email them instead through the city's website. We archive all of those emails. And again, the last three, we have a new city website. Bobby looked at it tonight, and thanked Marilyn for her work on all of that. We are broadcasting city council meetings on live stream. And don't forget to like us and share us on Facebook. Just don't make a comment. And that's the end of my report. Oh, did I talk about FEMA? I skipped FEMA.
You did skip me.
Yeah.
There's a letter at your desks. FEMA is doing a 30-day comment process on the procedure that they will use to update the floodplain. I have been working with this FEMA group for about the past year, working with them on identifying what streams they need to check, streams they don't need to check. They've decided they don't need Park Creek because it's so far below in a canyon gully kind of thing that they don't think it's going to back up and cause any significant flooding at all. They are concerned about Dry Creek and about Rudolph Creek. And again, they're going to use LiDAR, that's the low infrared, I forget what, something. Yeah. Come on, spit that out. And they will walk it to do. we've got two of the shortest stream segments in the county that they're doing floodplain maps. It impacts us.
Yeah, how's that impact?
The potential to impact us is particularly more difficult with Dry Creek. The preliminary numbers, or the preliminary maps that I've seen, indicate that about half of the airport will be flooded in this 100-year event, which means my house would probably be flooded, and yours, and yours, maybe not yours.
It runs right behind my.
Right behind you? Anyway, but it's also on the other side of the freeway.
That's
where
right.
it comes, yes.
Would take that freeway exit right out.
Yeah, that's the concern, but they think it would, the waters would move more down frontage road to the east than take the freeway out. But that's what they have to do. They have to do their studies, and they have to do the flows, and they have to do their estimations and their engineering models to see where the people that would be impacted could be impacted. And if they expand the floodplain, then your flood insurance
Yes.
is going to go
Yeah, I
up.
was gonna talk about it.
Yeah,
That's gonna affect people's, insurance, the insurance
That's
industry
correct.
feeds off of this stuff.
that's correct. So, again.
Well, I've been here for a 100-year flood. I've seen a few floods on Dry Creek, and
So have I.
they don't make it up to the air, they back up there Forest Lane into Holstrom's and that. But I've seen a river coming down Wanapa from
Yep,
in 64. And that was a pretty good event because we had a lot of snow and then a lot of rain coming.
well,
That's certainly a 100-year event.
Yes.
And so
what they're going to try and
Rudolph
estimate.
is definitely an issue.
That's right, they're doing Rudolph and Drake.
Yeah. Dry Creek's got a lot of things that block it and can send in different directions coming down to our, the freeway for one.
Yep.
Trying to get over to your place is hard to do. The issue of the last time it plugged up at that culvert going under Forest Lane, and then that backed it up into the Holstrom, wasn't the Holstroms at that was Carlson, but it
Right.
backed up into their area because that culvert plugged up.
You know, they fixed that culvert area there, but you're looking, I go past that right where the way station is right there. And it comes right down there and I've seen what that water did. I don't even remember how many years ago it was. It washed out this, in fact, I was up there as a family trying to help this other family with lots of community members because it was just like washing their foundation out, you know? And so I've seen what that can do, and it's,
I had Rudolph go through my garage. So, just open the door on each side, garage, concrete floor,
Well,
just go right through it, no problem.
When I was in Vernonia, for the 53 weeks I was city manager in Vernonia, I spent over $500,000 raising houses because the Nehalem River loved to come into town and make that thing a mess. So, you know, I don't really want to work with FEMA again on disaster and flood mitigation. I don't want to raise your house going to.
Okay.
That's all I have, sir.
Mayor and city council comments. Bruce, you get to start.
Yeah, thank you. I would just like to thank Brenda and Butch for coming in and letting us, know how they think we could help in the things we need to do, and I just appreciate that they're concerned, interested citizens. And thank you to everybody else, and that's all the time I need.
Okay. You're up, Bobby.
Thank you to staff, the web page, that looks so much better. A lot of us that use the internet. No, it's just, it's very user friendly, compared to how it used to be. And I rely on it for everything. Thank you to River County Sheriffs for coming down, and it's unfortunate that a beautiful animal like that had to be put down. But a lot of animals are becoming used to people, and they have no fear of them, and that's when we run into issues. So thank you for that. Thank you for the ahead of time to the new fire captain for coming on board. And that's all I have.
I'm good.
All right, that, Glenda?
I want to thank the staff as always because you do an excellent job under the assumption that